Well, hello, beautiful souls. Welcome to webinar number 2 for our hormone health in perimenopause and menopause series. Today, we're going to be talking about the adrenals, which is a subject that is very near and dear to my heart. I did go through my own struggle with adrenal fatigue about 10 years ago and was told that adrenal fatigue wasn't really a thing by the doctors and had to really dig deep and learn a lot and do a lot to try to, well, to basically heal myself from that. So, again, it's a lot of information today. So, drop any questions that you have in the chat. I may not get to them when you ask them, but I'm going to leave time at the end to answer them all. Just there's a lot of material to cover, and I do want to be respectful of everyone's time. So, just wait till the end, and then I'll go through and get all the questions answered then. Okay, so let us get started here. Okay, so welcome to today's webinar. Today is the hidden hormone link between adrenal fatigue and how it impacts us during perimenopause, menopause, and midlife in general. So my name is Heather McCullough. I run Expansion Coaching. Expansioncoach.ca is a coaching program for women specifically to guide them through this journey through perimenopause, menopause, into postmenopause, and make it the strongest, healthiest, best chapter of our lives. So about me, I've been working in the wellness industry for over 30 years. I'm extremely passionate about, especially helping women thrive, just knowing through the struggles that I've gone through, the struggles that a lot of women close to me have gone through, especially with the medical system, and to allow us to find ways to take back our power, take back our health out of the typical medical situation. So this is me just after we had completed Trek to Base Camp at Everest. There's just Everest is kind of in the background there. And this is one of the times in my life when I really did feel my best. So I kind of keep that as a reminder to myself of what is possible in health and how good that we can really feel. So let's just take a moment to just arrive. So close the door, turn off your phone, take a few minutes to just breathe. Put one hand on your heart, put one hand on your stomach, close your eyes, and then just notice your breath. Notice how it is today, and notice how it changes as you observe it. Let's take a deep breath in, feel the belly expand, and then just sigh it out through the mouth. Let's do that again. Inhale through the nose, belly expands, and just sigh it out through the mouth. One more time. Inhale. Just keep your eyes closed. Come back into a natural breath. And just scan through your body. Notice how your body's feeling today, how your mind is feeling today, how your emotions are feeling today. Without trying to change anything, just notice, just observe. And again, take a moment to just recommit to creating that partnership, that working together. Feel the connection. And then just open your eyes. So I want to thank everyone for taking the time to be here today. Obviously, we're very busy. We'll go through that a little bit later in the webinar as well. But it's just so important to take this time to give to yourself, to educate yourself, and to focus on what you need, which is also a part of menopause. We shift from focusing more on other people's needs towards our own, which is a very good thing. So today we're going to go through the adrenals. How do they support our hormones as we go through perimenopause, menopause? HPA axis, if you've never heard of it, that is the hypothalamus pituitary adrenal axis, how they're connected. Vagus nerve, we talked about that in the gut webinar. If you didn't watch the gut, it's kind of the first in the series. They are standalone, but they do build on each other as well. I'll drop a link to that one below as well. How our stress in menopause is just such an important thing to manage, because if it does lead to adrenal fatigue and energy crashes, how that is affecting our hormones and affecting the quality of our lives. So, what are the lifestyle factors that we can control, and some solutions, how to heal? We'll talk a little bit about yin deficiency and how that is a typical menopause. Yin deficiency is typical as we go through menopause. And then we'll just finish with a little bit of qigong at the end to get us moving. And so I probably will keep this slide in most of the webinars because it's just so important to me that midlife and menopause is not meant to be a decline. We're taking all of the power that we have used to create life, and we're now going to be using it for ourselves and for the world. So the world needs our joy, our energy, our wisdom, our knowledge, and the more we take care of ourselves, again, the more we're going to just be able to bring that into the world. It's just cannot stress the importance of that enough. It's not meant to be downhill. We're not over the hill. Okay, I think I'm just going to minimize myself completely so that I don't block any of the slides here. Over here. Okay, so what are the adrenals? They're these two little, almost look like a little hat that sits on each of our kidneys in the middle of our back. And they're just so powerful. They produce hormones like our cortisol, adrenaline, DHEA, as well as estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. As we go through menopause, our ovaries start to kind of shut down, and that was our main production of estrogen. As it declines, the adrenals are going to pick up the slack and take on that role in producing these hormones, which is why they are so important that they're healthy during this time. When they're under chronic stress, they just can't do it. That is what's going to lead to our fatigue, our mood, and our hormonal imbalances. So, supporting our adrenal health is just really going to be key to supporting a smooth menopausal transition and our vitality. Because we are our hormones, the way we experience the world, our moods, our energy are all created from our hormones. So as our hormones are changing, who we are is fundamentally changing, and that is not a bad thing. So what are they and what do they do? This is a more technical picture of them. Just sitting, this is viewed from the front, but they just sit right on top of your kidneys there. So what do? They produce cortisol. We've all heard this word thrown around a lot. It's the body's primary stress hormone, which is a good thing. And if it's overworked, it's not a good thing. This regulates our energy, it regulates our blood sugar, and it regulates inflammation. It helps you wake up in the morning, it helps you handle stress, and helps you recover. Once it's chronically elevated, you're going to not have enough energy, which is fatigue, even after sleep, not feeling rested. It's going to cause you to gain weight because when you're living in a state of high cortisol, your body is focused on survival and it's not focused on letting that weight go. It's going to affect your sleep and it's going to create anxiety. Anxiety is sometimes called fear without focus. So what's happening is your body is stuck in that stress response. It's sensing danger, even when there's no danger around, which is creating anxiety because you're feeling like there's something threatening you, but really it's just the cortisol that is being overproduced. The adrenals also, as I mentioned, they produce estrogen, which is important for our bones, our skin, our mood, and as the focus of today's webinar really is that as our ovaries decline, the adrenals are going to take over and produce estrogen for us. And it's just so vitally important to keep the adrenals healthy so that they're able to produce that estrogen, which is going to smooth our menopausal transition. They also do produce a small amount of progesterone, which balances the estrogen, helps us remain calm, helps us sleep, but it converts to cortisol if we're under stress because when we're under a danger or fight or flight situation, we don't need to be calm. We don't need to worry about sleeping. We need to worry about survival. So if we're under stress, then we're going to have less of that hormonal balance. So each hormone plays a role in the body's rhythm. So when they're balanced, we're going to feel calm and we're going to feel resilient. And resilience is such a key factor that really isn't talked about that much. Resilience is the ability to deal with stress and to recover. If we're living in a state of chronic stress, it can be like the straw that breaks the camel's back, that one small thing can set us off. And if you're out in the world at all, you can see that a lot of people are living under chronic stress, and the smallest thing happens and it completely sets them off. People are having almost like a hair trigger. So, okay, so also the adrenals produce our DHEA, which is a precursor hormone that is used by the body to make the estrogen as well as testosterone. That's going to support our mood, our energy, very important, our libido, and our immunity. It naturally does decline with age as well as with chronic stress, and again contributes to low resilience. So, very important hormone to keep track of. Adrenaline we've heard of, it's got adrenal right in the word there. It's also known as epinephrine, and that's what gets released in any kind of fight or flight moment. So when you are presented with something stressful, it's going to increase your heart rate to help move the blood to your muscles and get ready to, again, fight or flight. It's going to increase your blood pressure and your alertness for those same reasons. In a short burst, that's helpful. If we're chronically activating the adrenaline system, it's going to create exhaustion. Our adrenals just are not designed to continually pump out these hormones. Norepinephrine as well, it works with the adrenaline to maintain alertness and focus, again, which is important in a fight or flight response, keeping the blood vessels constricted and supporting that circulation under stress. High levels of this are going to create that anxiety and restlessness as well as insomnia, because as these hormones, chemicals are circulating through your blood, they're not going to allow you to relax because they are concerned that there is a threat or that there is danger. So it's very important to basically keep these balanced. Our energy, our mood, our sleep, and our resilience in menopause are directly tied to the health of our adrenals. It's just so, so, so important. So this is what's happening during menopause. Premenopause typically is going to be, you can see this rising and falling of our hormones. We've got the estrogen, we've got progesterone, we've got FSH, which is our follicle stimulating hormone, and LH, which is our luteinizing hormone. As we go into perimenopause, I mean, this is just an accurate description of what happens. Our hormones are just going haywire. We don't know what is going on from day to day. Our estrogen is rising and falling, our progesterone the same. It can cause not just irregular periods, but irregular moods as well, we could say. As we move into postmenopause, it's interesting because our follicular stimulating hormone and our luteinizing hormone remain elevated, and we'll talk more about what that means in later webinars, and our estrogen and our progesterone remain low and flat. So here are ovaries in menopause. So we're hopefully familiar with our own anatomy, but right here we've got the ovaries, these important little egg factories that have been popping out an egg every 28 days in order for us to create life, have children. So what do we go through as the ovaries change? So they begin to slow down the production of these reproductive hormones. our reproductive system is effectively shutting down. It doesn't go smoothly. As we saw in that previous slide, the levels fluctuate from day to day. We get mood swings, irregular cycles, hot flashes, anxiety. Very unpredictable. And if we're not prepared, it can be very unnerving. If you're feeling these mood swings and you don't know what's causing them, it can be very upsetting to yourself as well as the people around you. So the ovaries run out of eggs. We run out of eggs at the end and we stop producing these hormones. So now the body needs to adapt to these lower levels of estrogen and progesterone. So it's not the end of our hormones, it's a transition to a new hormonal balance, which is led by the adrenals, which is why the health of the adrenals is so, so, so important. So here they are, the adrenals and menopause. So the adrenals step in and back up as we go through, as the ovaries retire, we could say. The adrenal glands become the secondary source of our sex hormones, okay? They produce our estrogen, our progesterone, and our testosterone, and they do this through the hormone DHEA, dihydroepiandrosterone. Say that 3 times fast. So, as I mentioned before, the adrenals are part of the HPA axis, which is the hypothalamus pituitary adrenal axis. I love biological words, biology words. You don't need to remember that. This is the body's stress response system. When you're under chronic stress, then your adrenals are only focused on making cortisol, which is our stress hormone, and then they're not making our DHEA and the sex hormones. This means that stress is literally stealing the raw materials that your body needs to create those hormones that you do rely on, which is why managing stress isn't a luxury in midlife. It is absolutely the foundation of hormonal balance. Now, maybe you're saying to yourself, this all sounds great. How do I manage stress? We talked about it in the last webinar. Maybe you have small children. Maybe you have teenagers. Maybe you have aging parents. Maybe you have a stressful job. How are you supposed, maybe you have to take care of the home. How are we supposed to manage these things in midlife? It might seem like an insurmountable task. We will go through some solutions, but really it's going to become non-negotiable. There is a book that it's called Rushing Women Syndrome, which I'm sure we can all relate to, even just the title. The society has created this role for us where we're really being forced into a masculine and feminine role where we're being expected to be out in the world and to be creating an income and to be the main caretaker for the family. And I feel like this one generation, we're the first generation that's really gone through it. For some of us, our mothers maybe didn't work. We were kind of in that transition where women were just starting to work outside the home in the 70s and 80s. So we are the first generation to go through menopause that has had all of the stress of life placed on us. And that is not something that I say lightly. So we are the ones that really need to set boundaries. And that is what part of menopause is as well, is taking care of ourselves first. Again, you can't pour from that empty cup. If we want to be healthy, I mean, we can just go until we can't anymore. That's maybe an option, but I think there is a healthier option and a healthier balance that we can find when we do push back and say enough. So the HPA axis, we're going to get a little bit technical here. So if this is not your ball of wax, just sort of fast forward or follow along. For me, I absolutely love this. So it's the body's HPA axis is the body's central stress response and hormone regulation system. So it connects the brain to the adrenal glands through the hypothalamus and the pituitary gland. So it is always seeking to find balance. That's the miracle of our body. Our body is always trying to find balance and something we should be so, so grateful for. So the brain detects a threat. Now, in Olden days, it could be something physical and dangerous. But today, it could be an argument with your spouse or your teenager. It could be stress at work. It could be traffic. It could be rush hour. It could be a snowy road. So when your brain detects that threat or what it perceives as a threat, it contacts the pituitary gland. That's the very tiny gland that is right in the center of our brain to release the adrenocorticotropic hormone. That stimulates the adrenals to release the cortisol, which is going to increase your alertness, increase your blood pressure, increase your heart rate. And and importantly, I know I've said this before, the blood sugar. Glucose is the easiest energy for our body to consume. So when the body is thinking, we've got a stressful situation, we need to fight or flight, we need some quick energy, it's going to release glucose into your blood and spike your blood sugar. This is going to, over time, create insulin resistance and inflammation in the body. Okay, this is a very important factor to remember. So, we stop digestion. We talked about that in the webinar on the gut and hormone connection. If we're facing an imminent threat or danger to our survival, we don't need to worry about digesting food. So the body is so efficient, it really focuses all of its energy in survival. We don't need to worry about catching a cold or our immunity if we're facing an imminent threat to our survival, as I mentioned. So when you're in a stressful state over time, you're going to get poor digestion and you're going to get poor immunity and you're going to get elevated blood sugar and insulin resistance. So, ideally, after the stressful situation, we go into the recovery phase. Your cortisol should drop. Your body should return to balance. You should resolve that stress. So, the key to hormone balance is not avoiding stress in our modern world. That's not even possible. It's what we need to do is learn how to recover from it. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So, all hope is not lost. Don't worry. We're really focused on solutions here, but I just want you to understand what is happening so that you can understand what the solutions are and why they're important. Okay, so the hypothalamus is the master regulator. So it's just a little small section of your brain. It's the control center for your hormones. So it is what is the system that connects your nervous system with your endocrine system, which is your hormone system. So the hypothalamus is constantly scanning the body, looking for stress and safety and creating balance. So, as I mentioned, when stress is detected, it's going to release CRH, which is going to signal the pituitary gland to start that chain. It also does regulate our temperature, our hunger, our thirst, our sleep, and our circadian rhythm. So when these things get out of balance, you can see hot flashes, cravings for carbs, sleep disruptions, and upset again in our sleep disruptions through the circadian rhythm. As we mentioned, because cortisol is an important hormone for waking up in the morning. But if we're chronically have high cortisol, it's going to disrupt that natural cycle because cortisol should be very low in the evening to allow us to go to sleep. So if you have that wired tired kind of thing where you're tired but you can't sleep, it's probably high cortisol in the evening. The hypothalamus is the body's wise messenger. So it's translating your thoughts and emotions into physical balance. So we can think too that we have control of our thoughts. We can control what we think about, which is why meditation and maybe yoga or other kind of slow down practices are important because it's going to regulate the hypothalamus to not find that stress. Whereas if we're just ruminating or thinking about something that happened at work or somebody that cut you off in traffic, it's stimulating the hypothalamus that that stress is still there, even if it happened hours ago. Again, so it's not that we're not meant to go through a stressful situation. We're meant to go through it and then recover from it. So the hypothalamus sends that to the pituitary, and the pituitary again is just that little tiny pea-sized gland. Just it's literally right in the center of our brain. It's called the master gland because it does really control what goes on in the other glands. So it gets the message from the hypothalamus and it sends the message to the adrenals to produce the cortisol. So that's why it's called the HPA axis, the hypothalamus, the pituitary, and the adrenal. So they're all connected. It does also control our other hormones, our thyroid hormones, growth hormones, and our metabolism. So we'll go through these a little bit more when we go through the webinar on the thyroid, which is going to be the next one. So yes, think of it as the switchboard operator. So it translates the brain signals into the hormonal instructions. So, so your eyes or your thoughts find a stressful situation, stimulates the hypothalamus, who alerts the pituitary, who sends the signal to the adrenals to produce those stress hormones. Okay, so yeah, think about it like the switchboard operator or the conductor. What happens when it is not working, or we call it dysregulated? In a chronic stress, the alarm system stays on. We just feel as though it's just one stress after another, or we get stuck. This switch just gets stuck in a super high level. So over time, it's going to cause high blood sugar, inflammation, fatigue, poor sleep, hormone imbalance, low resilience. Like I said, it's not going to be able to switch back and forth. If it's stuck on, then it's just on. So everything is viewed as a stress at that point. So again, it's not about avoiding stress, it's learning how to recover from it. It communicates through the vagus nerve as well. The vagus nerve is the off switch for the stress response. We talked about the vagus nerve connected to the gut in the last webinar. And again, how we get from the sympathetic fight or flight system into the rest and digest, the parasympathetic system. So, one thing that we can control is our breath. The other thing we talked about is humming. Meditation, qigong are all stimulating the vagus nerve, it's called vagal tone, to move from sympathetic to parasympathetic. So you can think about it like a dial. If the dial's stuck on, or if the dial is easily turned up or down based on the situation. So that does restore balance. So the additional practice, sighing, we did that in our opening circle as an important thing to remember, that sighing is one of the ways that the body releases stress. So even if you're at work and you need to go in the bathroom or go outside, it's going to help you start to move that cortisol. The other thing is any bilateral movement, which is walking, like anything right, left, or you can even do high knees or just at your desk. It signals the brain like, hey, we're either moving away from the stress, and it helps your body to start to remove the cortisol from the system and to low down. As well, raising your hands above your head. Now, this is a very vulnerable position for the human body to be in. So when you're taking a deep breath and raising your hands above your head, you're signaling to your brain that you're safe. So it's a very, very easy way. If you can't go for a walk, if you can't get anywhere, to just breathe and raise your hands above your head is going to really help you. The other thing is shaking. Now, when you think about it, or this is how I think about it, if you're a deer living in the savannah in Africa and you get chased by a lion and you get away, you're just under a bush recovering, they don't stay there and just think, oh my gosh, what if it comes back? Oh my gosh, how am I going to go out there again and it's going to see me again and it's going to get me? Animals don't do that. They go through stress and then they literally shake it off. You can see it in their nervous system. It's a reset. So, depending on where you are, you might not be able to shake it off. We'll do a little Qigong practice later on in the webinar and I'll kind of go through it. The other thing that I recently acquired is a vibration plate. It just sits in my office and I use it in the morning at night. It's great for a lot of reasons, but it also is going to move your body in from sympathetic into the parasympathetic system just through that shaking. It's also great for balance, for lymphatic drainage, lots of other things. We might go through that in a different webinar. So a calm nervous system is going to allow your adrenals to do what they're designed to do, to nourish you and to protect you, not just have you in a perpetual state of stress. So we just sort of went over that. So the communication is bidirectional. So the brain is sending systems down, but your body is also sending systems up. That's why when you do deep breathing, when you do walking, you're sending the system to the brain that the stress has passed. As we said last, this is the slide from the last webinar. I thought I would throw it in, but our breath, our heart rate, our digestion, our blood pressure, and our blood sugar, all so important to be regulated. So, how do we do that? As I said, we do diaphragmatic breathing. We can sing, we can hum, we can chant. The other thing I didn't mention, cold exposure. If you do a cold plunge, if you splash cold water on your face, gentle movements, qigong and yoga, and then as well as gratitude and social connection. So again, this is how our switch should operate. We should be able to easily go back and forth. We could be relaxed. Something happens, we can focus on it, we can deal with it, and then we go back into the parasympathetic system. We don't just get stuck in that stressful fight or flight. So the calm vagus nerve is the bridge between our body and mind. And that turns our stress into safety and chaos into calm. So as we go through midlife, menopause is not an ending. We're shifting our power. We're shifting our power away from creating life and nurturing life into ourselves primarily, which allows us a larger circle of influence beyond just our family. Our hormones fluctuate, the adrenals ideally step up, and everything connects. Estrogen used to help us buffer stress. Once it declines, this is why the adrenals are so important. And we just know modern life, it overloads our system. So what is adrenal fatigue? I mean, we could probably say it's a spectrum. And if we're living in the modern world, we probably are somewhere on this spectrum. Fatigue, energy crashes, depression, anxiety. We talked about that as well with the gut, how all of these hormones, your neurotransmitters, your serotonin, your dopamine, etc., are made in your gut. Again, those need to be healthy in order for us to have healthy adrenals. It causes poor sleep. This says lightheartedness, but it should say lightheadedness. So if you get up and you feel lightheaded or faint, can be a signal of adrenal fatigue. Your adrenals are overtaxed. If you get infections, as we mentioned, when you're stuck in fight or flight, your immune system is not working. It literally is not working. Hair loss, reliance on caffeine to get through the day. Again, that goes to the energy here. Joint pain, brain fog, circles around your eyes, weight gain, craving carbs, and craving salt. These are all signals that your adrenals are overworked and they're just trying to send you signals that they need help, basically. So these are all kind of oversimplified, but sure, lower stress, eliminate sugar, processed foods, get quality sleep, cut excess coffee. We talked about as well last time. Caffeine is great in moderation. We'll talk about supplements a little bit later. Vitamin C is so important, just absolutely so important for every cell process, and some adaptogenic herbs, and vitamin B. So one of the things that I learned when I was going through this journey on my own is that when you are going through a stressful time, your body uses nutrients at double the rate as if you were in a parasympathetic situation. So it's burning through your B vitamins. It's burning through all of these things to make your stress hormones it's using up the magnesium. It's using them up. So if you're going through an acute stress, like say, a parent is ill or something like that, you want to be really upping your supplement intake as well as nourishment from food. We don't want to just simply rely everything on vitamins either. But it's just something to be aware of. Now, with chronic stress at the beginning, we might need to over supplement to get a therapeutic dose to help our body to recover from the adrenal fatigue. Now, in my small group coaching, we go on a more one-on-one basis and focus on what specifically your stressors are and how to manage them. So, as we mentioned, these are some of the things in the adrenal fatigue quiz. So, do you have morning fatigue even after technically maybe you did get 8 hours of sleep, but you're not rested? In the afternoon, you crash. At night, you can't sleep, and you're sort of going through. We talked about that coffee in the morning and to wake up and wine at night to wind down as a crutch that you really want to be aware of. Now, your mood. Do you easily get overwhelmed or anxious, that you're not sure, everything seems insurmountable, or you just don't know how to manage it? Are you irritable or short-tempered with your family or loved ones? Are you finding it hard to focus, losing memory, losing words, and just not motivated? Well, you don't have the energy to be motivated. It could be falling into a mild depression, which you can again see how important it is for your gut health to be able to be able to make those neurotransmitters that you need for your mood. So again, any trouble falling or staying asleep can be too much adrenaline, too much cortisol in the system, waking up at 2 or 3 in the morning, and yeah, just having a poor circadian rhythm and then not feeling rested. So adrenal fatigue is your body's way of communicating to you to slow down, to breathe, and restore before, it gets worse. Again, craving salt and sugar, that lightheadedness, body aches, dry skin, hair loss, brittle nails, weight gain, terrible PMS or menopause symptoms, low libido, poor thyroid, frequent colds with the immunity, and then heightened inflammation and allergies. So all is not lost. This can be, some lifestyle triggers. We know that it's sort of a chicken and egg situation. One thing causes the other. And then, how do we start? So obviously, lifestyle is going to have an effect. So if we're not sleeping, if maybe we're staying up too late and getting up too early because maybe you have small children and the only time you have to yourself is those couple of hours in the evening. But menopause is a time when you absolutely have to prioritize your sleep. It's just almost non-negotiable. If you're over consuming caffeine, sugar, alcohol, those kind of things, if you're over exercising, that as we go through menopause, exercise is going to increase our cortisol if we do too hard of a workout. If you're not eating or if you're not fasting responsibly, it can also burn out your adrenals. And again, this is probably a main one is the emotional burnout and caretaking. I mean, so much of it falls onto us as women that I feel like a lot of women, when they go through menopause, I think the divorce rate is extremely high because, well, women are just burnt out from a whole lifetime of it. And then as we lose our estrogen, that is our hormone that gives us that caretaking feeling. And as we lose that, we are putting ourselves first more. And if we're not in a supportive relationship or not able to communicate with our partner, it can sometimes lead to breakdown. So it's something to be aware of that you need to be really communicating with your loved ones about what you're going through. And that might mean them taking on more of a role. Blue light exposure, obviously, EMFs, lack of downtime, too much time on the phone, especially at night. If you do need that phone to de-stress, maybe just consider getting some blue light glasses to help to eliminate that. And as I said, just no phone or electronic use while you're in bed. Just make sure that you reserve your bed for sleeping, that you have some kind of nighttime routine. And as I mentioned, nutrient deficiencies creep up. Once we're going through stress, especially the B vitamins, magnesium, C, as I mentioned, and then protein's so important. So yeah, you can see there's a lot of crossover from the gut and hormone health, and you can sort of see how the whole system works together. We can't just focus on one system because they are all integrated. So herbal adrenal fatigue supplements. So as I was going through my own journey with adrenal fatigue is when I did have my supplement company. And the focus of my whole supplement company was to actually help people, heal from adrenal fatigue and also brain injuries. So I had an adrenal supplement specifically that did have all of these as well as a few more that aren't listed here. Again, in our group coaching, we do more of a one-on-one and finding exactly what you would need specifically, but you can always reach out to me in the email and I can give you some guidance as well. So we've got licorice, ginkgo, maca, ginseng, ashwagandha, rhodiola, ginger. Also, holy basil is good. Suma root. Does it say acerola? Acerola is also good because that is high in vitamin C. And there's just a lot of herbs that are helpful with healing from adrenal fatigue. Some adrenal supplements do actually contain adrenals as well, desiccated adrenal, which can be very helpful. Just depends on what's right for you. All right, so finding balance. What do we need to do? Prioritize sleep. As I said, it's just, oh my gosh, it's really non-negotiable. And slow mornings, if you have kids, obviously that's not always a possibility. But even if you can get a couple of slow mornings on your days off or the weekend where you just have other people in your life that are taking over, and so that you can really recharge yourself. You want to make sure you're keeping your blood sugar balanced. You're eating more protein. We talked about that as well. Reducing your refined carbs. Now we'll go into it in another webinar later, but as we age and our insulin resistance declines, we really do need to be reducing carbs in our life, not just refined carbs. So white sugar, potatoes, pasta, rice, those kinds of things. There's so many great substitutes now that you don't even really have to focus on those. They're easily replaced in your diet. As we mentioned, the adaptogenic herbs, minerals, vitamins, gentle exercise. And you'll see there's, like I said, there's a lot of crossover with digestive health. It's just general health. These things are being proven to help your stemming from parasympathetic and sympathetic regulation. These are the things that help you downregulate your nervous system. And as rushing women, it can be hard to rest. I mean, I have a really hard time doing nothing. That's just never been me in my life. I really need to focus on recognizing that rest is healing. It's not, we just don't have to be busy all the time. It's okay. And that doesn't even mean just watching TV. It can really mean just rest. It can mean reading a book. It can mean going for a walk. It can just mean not focusing on everyone else and focusing on yourself. So, daily is important. We need to be really regulating ourselves every day through breath work, through laughter, finding something creative. Maybe it's really just a coloring book, rediscovering your love of coloring from being a kid or doing crafts. So again, shift from doing to being, and then just learn to receive. And sometimes that means asking, which maybe you've never really been able to ask for what you need. Start small and just recognize that you deserve to get what you need. So it can be challenging, but I challenge you. I know you can do it. So, yin deficiency, menopause in Chinese medicine. Now, I will just always say a disclaimer that I am not a doctor or practitioner of Chinese medicine, but I do think that it's a really great modality, and I would encourage you to find somebody qualified that can really help you through this transition. So, yin and yang, we're hopefully all familiar with the idea of yin as the more feminine energy and yang as the more masculine energy. Chronic stress burns yin. So that can cause that dryness, that heat, that anxiety, that insomnia. It's naturally, menopause is naturally a yin deficient in phase because we are losing our moisture, fluids, estrogen. So we want to focus on building that. So that rebuilds our adrenal reserves. So again, early bedtime, rest, stillness, meditation, some good yin building foods. Bone broth, always good, again, as well for our digestive system. Black sesame seeds, seaweed, as well as iodine for our thyroid, very important. Eggs are always just such a great source of all kinds of nutrition. And dark leafy greens as well as berries. That's just a few easy additions to your life. The emotional yin is again that self-compassion, being soft and practicing saying no. You don't have to be everything to everybody all the time. That might come as a shock depending on how you've lived your life to this point. So what are just the key takeaways? We're kind of winding down a bit here. So the adrenals are here to help you go through midlife. Okay, they're going to take over when your ovaries start to decline. The HPA axis, which is linking your brain to these responses, if it's chronically switched on, this is what's leading to our imbalances. So we need to find this harmony. Manage our stress is managing our hormones, calming the nervous system, keeping that in balance, focusing on the vagus nerve, activating it, noticing if our adrenals are fatigued, and then using lifestyle and yin practices to help to calm it. So we'll go back now to the energy body. Now, just do I have any questions up until this point? Let me pop myself back in here. If you do have any questions, pop them in the chat and we'll move back into now. Again, we're more than just a bunch of cells going along. We're more electrical energy than almost anything else. So something to consider that midlife isn't a breakdown. We're just realigning our energy. So we can look at Qigong for yin and adrenal flow. We can see, I'm just going to zoom in here. This dark blue one, this is our kidney meridian on the front of the body. And then here, you can see here on the back of the body. So as we can focus on that, we can get blockages, especially in the kidneys. Kidneys are just such an important organ in every type of medicine. All right, so again, this is also, we went through this in the digestion webinar. The breath is the only autonomic process that we can control. And through that, we control our other systems. So it automatically can move us from the sympathetic into the parasympathetic. We can't think about slowing down our heart rate. We can't think about lowering our blood pressure. But as we slow down the breath, it does those things for us. So that's why it's the bridge. As you do a diaphragmatic breathing, you have your diaphragm, which is that dome-shaped muscle that separates your upper abdominal cavity from the lower abdominal cavity. You can see here, I'll just show you. Oops, I'll just show here. So here's the diaphragm is right between these two things. So as you inhale, it's going to create a downward pressure, which expands your abdomen, and that muscle pushes down on your lower abdominal organs and massages them. As you exhale, your abdomen contracts inward and pushes the air up. Oh, what happened there? So again, a lot of us are shallow breathing in the upper part of our lungs. So that means our oxygen saturation of our blood can be lower, especially when we're sitting. So a good thing is every hour or so, stand up and just, again, arms overhead is a great way to also bring our stress down, and then deep breathing. It's going to improve the oxygenation of our blood, which is going to help improve our brain. Our brain is using a ton of oxygen and has a lot of blood flow up there. So it's going to really help us stay focused. Okay, so now let's stand up. I don't know if I can get my camera here so that you can see. We'll just stand up. You can still see me? Okay, so let us put your legs about hip width apart, and your toes are just slightly turned in so your feet are facing forward, almost like the outside edge of your foot is straight. Knees are gently bent. And as I was saying before, let's just start with that shaking. So just start to bounce through your legs, bounce through your heels, move through your arms, and literally shake it off, shake it out, and just do some deep breaths. This is really going to help move the energy, move any stagnant energy, and help to calm your nervous system and actually help you start to move the stress hormones through and out of your body. There is something we didn't go into that is actually called cortisol toxicity, where you can get a whole different host of health symptoms if your cortisol is too high. I might do a separate video just on that. So we're just shaking. Just letting everything move, maybe your neck, maybe your head, and just forcing out those exhales. Get out the stagnant air, stagnant chi, stagnant energy. Just two more breaths. Okay, great. Now just stop, close your eyes, and notice how you feel. Feel that the energy is actually starting to move through your body. You can sway a little bit back and forth and just keep that nice, easy breath. And now we're just going to gently do an upper body twist. So keeping your feet placed and your knees soft, just gently start to swing your arms from right to left. Easy. And then as you bring them around, I'll just turn around so you can see. As you bring them around, tap your forearm right around the middle of your back, which is right around where your kidneys are. So you're tapping the front of the body, but as well, you're just tapping the back of the body as you gently just turn the torso from left to right. Now, again, this is what we would call a bilateral movement. So it's also going to be, well, I guess it's not really because we're not moving the feet. So we're just swinging the arms and tapping the front and the back of the body. Just a few more times. Okay, again, stop. Just breathe and notice how you feel. You can sway a little bit left to right and deep breaths. Now, depending on how easy it is for you to bend, this may or may not work for you, but I'm going to squat down and I'm going to go out of frame here, but you just squat down, scoop up the energy from the ground, and then bring it up and place your hands in the middle of your back. Come forward, reach down, and just a gentle scooping motion brings the energy up, around to your back, and then forward. Now, the other thing we can do is just a gentle tapping on the back of the kidneys. It's just going to release stagnation and bring some energy to the area. Deep breaths all the time. And then again. Take a deep breath. Now, this area of the navel is called dantian in Chinese medicine and qigong. And this is where we store our qi. This is where we have our prenatal qi. Your belly button is sort of your first thing that activates as an embryo. Your connection to the uterus and your life force really is that's where your nourishment comes from. So you're going to just have your left palm covering the right, and you're going to start rotating counterclockwise 36 times. It's 36 times, and then switch. Left on the bottom, right one on top, and now we're going to go clockwise for 24 times. Knees are still gently bent. Breath is slow and easy. And then just rest. Close your eyes, take a deep breath. Sigh it out. And just notice how you feel. Just a very simple 5-minute practice can easily help you to learn how to get that needle out of the stress switch and into the rest switch. So here's just can be a little mantra as well. I am safe to rest. My body knows how to restore balance. Maybe we don't know how to feel safe. That's a very common experience for women, depending on your life and your history. Maybe you've never known safety, and that's something to explore. Again, we go more into these things in the group and individual coaching. So if we can just find some more rest and find some more nourishment and just recognize when we're in each system. It's like, are you in that stress system? Are you in that rest system? Just find, I mean, really just one thing that you can do. You don't have to be, again, we want to move from doing to being. So it's not about trying to accomplish more. It's about finding things that you can manage, that you can do, and that you're going to do. It doesn't matter if you know the information if you don't implement it. That is where the real power is. Something I didn't really go into that is important to remember is that we can actually become addicted to our hormones. You can become addicted to your stress hormones. You might not like feeling relaxed. You might look for things to create stress so that you can get that hit of cortisol or that adrenaline because it's something that you're used to. It's just something to be aware of. We didn't really talk about it today. Maybe do a separate video just about that. So we want to be, if you can't move, just sigh. And if you notice you're sighing a lot, maybe you need to really start journaling or finding other creative practices, something that you can do. We want to get outside and get fresh air and sunlight every day, ideally in the morning, because that is going to signal to the brain that our circadian rhythm, that it's time for cortisol, and that at nighttime when it's dark is when our melatonin kicks in that helps us sleep. So we want to really get those cycles into regulation so that we can actually be getting sleep. Again, find one food that you love that that is going to nourish you. Do one thing that brings you joy. Dance, meet with friends, laugh, and just find that community that brings you together. If meeting with friends is stressful, if all you do is vent about work or the negative things in your life, that's not necessarily going to put you into that rest and digest sympathetic mode. It's actually going to put you into more of a stress mode. So if you do need to vent to friends, maybe do it while you're walking because then you're letting it out, but you're still getting that bilateral movement that is going to help your system. And sleep, create a bedtime ritual, something that you have a bath or you read or you turn off your devices or you meditate or do some nighttime yoga, something that's going to help your body come down from the stress of the day into that parasympathetic state so that you can actually get a good night of rest. So yeah, I mean, stop beating yourself up too. If you're stressed out that you weren't kind to yourself, it's counterintuitive, right? Slow down and just remember that you are enough. You're doing enough. You're probably doing more than enough. So just give yourself a pat on the back, some gratitude for getting to where you are and to having the wherewithal and the awareness to learn to make things better. I mean, the ideal is that we are always making our lives better, not worse. So, menopause is a time when we can really focus on that. So, yeah, that brings down to as I mentioned, we do small group coaching. I say it's group coaching, but it really is more like one-on-one coaching, but then we just have a group support as well. So it's 4 one-on-one sessions. The last week is 3. I added one because I like to do a really lengthy intake to really discover where you are and to create the best plan. And then we have periodic check-ins along with group calls and then that ongoing support. So we get a personalized plan for you and then just really, really get you from where you are into a better place. So there is a webinar discount of an additional 20%. That's just on until the 7th. And you can always email me and we'll do a 30-minute kind of like I guess they call it a discovery call where we can see if it's a good fit for you or what it actually is and then get all your questions answered because yeah, you deserve a great midlife. You deserve to reinvent yourself and to have this be really the greatest part of your life. So yeah, thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for taking the time to focus on yourself, to learn about what's actually going on. And I would just encourage you to balance your stress, to calm your nervous system, nourish yourself, and just slow down. Slow down. So let's take a moment to just close the circle. Close your eyes again and sit back in your chair. Feel your feet on the floor. Take a deep breath. And just think, I am safe to slow down. My energy is sacred. My body knows how to restore balance. Now just take your hands, start to rub your palms together. If you're wearing glasses like me, you can take them off. Rub your palms together so you start to feel like that little bit of warmth. And then just take your hands as you inhale and cup them over your eyes and big breath in. And then do that again. Rub your hands together until you feel that little bit of warmth. Close your eyes. And just cup your hands in front of you and just feel the energy dancing on your palms. Feel that tingling. And then bring your hands to your heart. Deep breath in. And then open your eyes. Oh, yeah. Thank you so much for being here with me. As I said, I'm extremely passionate about these subjects, so you can always reach out to me with any questions or drop them in the chat, and I will definitely get them answered. And hopefully we'll see you in the group coaching program. So yeah, thank you so much for joining me today. And the next webinar, I believe, will be thyroid. I think we'll do thyroid next. So you can just, if you did sign up for this webinar, you will get notified about that, or you can just send me an email. Again, check all the links in the description. Oh, one more thing before we go. There is, okay, so just before we go, I wanted to share this one more thing. So I did create this online shop of just different products that I'm using. They're all affiliate links. So they all go to Amazon. Again, you can use the link or not, but these are just the things that I'm recommending at this time. We haven't gone into, so this is from our last webinar. And so you can find it at expansioncoach.ca /shop. Again, I'll drop the link in the chat below, but I'm just going to keep adding things from the webinars. I'm going to put the vibration plate in here. Here's the book, The Rushing Woman Syndrome. I do highly recommend. So I'm just going to keep adding on different things that I'm using or that I find beneficial. And again, if you have questions, you can always message me. So yeah, thanks again for being here, and we will see you in the next webinar.